Today, I want to talk about equality of outcome versus equality of opportunity. We're going to look at a few videos, and we're also going to look at my notes that I just took. I'm reading my new book, as you guys know. If you're following, you guys know I'm reading Discrimination and Disparities by Thomas Sowell. Benjamin in the chat says, beautiful, warm, clean waves. Love that, bro. Love that. No wetsuit, I'm assuming. All right, we're looking good, man. Everything's looking good on the stream. I went to a previous version of one of the apps that I use, so hopefully it's gonna be like awesome. Won't have any more issues. He says, great book too. Bro, you read this book?
Everyone has.
Oh my God. Miss Medication is yelling from the other room. She says, everyone has. Here's my bookmark. Let me just go like this. So this is the book right here. Those of you that are logging in, by the one and only Thomas Sowell. Says you froze. Am I frozen still, bro? No, I'm not frozen. It must be your thing. You can't be watching my live stream while you're surfing, bro. Out in the ocean. All right, here we go. So, guys, we're going to talk about discrimination and disparity. We're going to talk about equality of outcome. And we're going to talk about some of the notes I took. And we're going to watch some videos on equality of outcome. In Instagram, Proud Bubby says, hello, Miss Medication. This is Linda. I am the grandkids. This is Linda. I am. The grandkids had the phone again, hoping everyone had a wonderful day. Thank you, Linda, from Instagram. I know we can't see the chat from Instagram because I took it off. I said no more. Because Instagram, you guys don't chat. You guys are here for 2 seconds and you're gone. So you don't get that kind of love. Come over to YouTube to get that love. But Linda, love you. Thank you so much, Linda. Good to have you. We're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about equality of outcome. I'm excited for it. I love it. It's a beautiful thing. And what's my... Okay, so I'm at F3.5 right now. So we're going to do a little bit of this. So one of the notes that I took here is, I'm going to read this to you guys. Studies show, so let me zoom in and let's see if you guys can read along with me if you want to. You don't have to. That's why I'm here for you. Studies show that firstborn children are more likely to be more successful and test higher than second, and second are more than third, and so on. So the first kid is, studies show they test higher and are more successful than the second kid, and the second kid, then the third kid, and all the way down. So it is what it is. So let's go back to here because I kind of wrote it out of sync. So if there is not equality of outcome among people born. Yeah, Miss Medication, can you close that? You want to come say hi really quick before you close it up? Come say hi. Come say hi.
Hey.
Come on. There she is, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Medication. All right, and I got my Great White Hope shirt on today, boys and girls. Look at this. I called you ladies and gentlemen, then boys and girls. Great White Hope. You know who the Great White Hope is. You know who that is. All right. Now, so if you're following along, we're going to continue. If there is not equality of outcome, let me make sure my mic is on. Hold on, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, my mic is on. Good. So, if there is not equality of outcome among people born to the same parents and raised under the same roof, Why should equality of outcome be expected or assumed when conditions are not nearly so compatible, meaning out in the real world? And we're going to find out why. Okay, this is the book, and this is what we're going to do. And with that said, away we go. We're going to watch some videos first, and we're going to talk about it. All right? So here we go.
Finally, new rule if you believe in the philosophy of equality. And finally, new rule if you believe in the philosophy of equality of outcomes, then you really shouldn't have watched the Grammys last Sunday. Because the Grammys, aside from the usual award show virtue signaling.
Wait a second. Here we go. Now we're back.
And finally, new rule if you believe in the philosophy of equality of outcomes, then you really shouldn't have watched the Grammys last Sunday. Because the Grammys, aside from the usual award show virtue signaling, are still largely about the idea that certain people do music better than others, and it's okay to reward them for it. That's called meritocracy, and it's the opposite of guaranteed outcomes. Equality of outcomes, as opposed to equality of opportunity. We used to call that by another name, trophy syndrome. A world that was... A world that was created back in the 90s where every kid gets a trophy, no matter how good or bad they are at something. Well, the result of that...
That's a recent thing, by the way. What's up, Random? Good to have you, bro.
That kind of thinking is that American kids now have a totally deluded and unearned belief in their charm, brains, and talent. It's not only that the entire generation wants to be famous, it's that they think not being famous isn't fair.
Yep.
If you think I'm exaggerating, let me quote from this article in Rolling Stone magazine last year, lamenting how streaming has not given us equality of outcomes in the music industry. Oh, the Grammys would look quite different if we followed this template. The article tells us that more than 1.6 million artists released songs between January 2019 and July 2020. 40,000 tracks a day on Spotify. And yet, Rolling Stone complains, today's streaming landscape looks a lot like the music industry used to. A small class of artists see not just the majority of activity, but damn near all of it. Yes, these are called the good ones. I mean, yes, of course, an occasional big talent can fall through the cracks, but in general, it's simply a case that most people who try their hand at music write the songs that don't make the whole world sing. Rolling Stone complains that, quote, nearly all the streams went to artists in the top 10%, with the bottom 90% pulling in just 0.6% of streams. Whoa, let me get this straight. Talented artists people like are listened to more than untalented ones they don't? Stop the presses. Yes, that's meritocracy. If people don't like your song, your mommy can't make them listen to it.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know why 99% of artists aren't getting heard? Because music is hard and most people suck at it.
Yep.
For more details, Google reality. Rolling Stone actually writes the sentence, in a perfect world, the bottom 1% of artists would get 1% of activity. No, they wouldn't.
No.
That's a stupid world I don't want to live in. Who taught you this nonsense? And when you whine that streaming hasn't just upheld the gap between music's haves and have-nots, it's widened it. You're making my case for me. Because streaming allows the public to sample everybody. There's no more gatekeepers. You can't complain no one heard your song because no label would sign you. We tore that wall down. And the result was the same. Some musicians are have-nots because, yes, they may have a voice, but we have ears.
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
It reminds me of the early audition rounds of the old American Idol where contestants are all attitude and image, as if to say, can we not focus so much on the talent and just skip the part to where the part I'm going to get to be an idol? 72% of Gen Z say they'd like to be an online celebrity, and 54% of Gen Z and millennials say they would become an influencer given the opportunity.
No one's holding you back, bro. No one's holding you back. Knock yourself out. The internet's ready for you, bro. Do what you gotta do. Do what you can. See if you're gonna be. You gonna do it? Gonna be famous? Let's go. What's up, Candy? What's up, Lauren? What's up, Good Time? Good to have you guys. We're diving into equality of outcome today, and we got some cool stuff. I got some videos. We're gonna watch. I took some notes here from the new book I'm reading. This bad boy right here, Discrimination and Disparities, by our buddy Thomas Sowell. So we're diving in, guys. We're diving in. Let's go, baby. We're like Benjamin. We're diving into the ocean. We're gonna go surfing today. Let's go.
You know, if it wasn't too much work, like making a sex tape. Speaking of which, Paris Hilton just made a return to the limelight, revealing that the ditzy party girl we knew back in the day was just her playing a character, and that there really was more to her than sex tapes, driving drunk, carrying around a little dog, and saying that's hot. I mean, what about her work on the Human Genome Project?
Oh, chat's already going off. Let's go. Let's see what we got. Lauren is back. Trump has been out on bail. We are the only generation of Americans elected as president. Oh my gosh, she's already starting, bro. Holy cow. We just started the stream. Lauren, are you a bot? You got to be a bot, bro, with these, you think she's copy pasted? Yeah. Sorry, bro. Random, you called it, bro. Spam the same copy paste bullshit you post everywhere. Thank you. Should we bump Lauren? Should we bump Lauren? Is she just spamming, bro, or what? She has these copy pasted on her laptop, huh?
You know what? Any jokes I did about Paris, I don't feel bad. Sorry, not sorry. I just can't. I can't be living in this time when we're madly on the hunt for anything with the slightest whiff of white privilege and then feel bad for Paris Hilton. Quite the reverse. Maybe Paris is the one who owes us an apology. For being patient zero for today's vapid, entitled, famous-for-nothing culture. She kind of birthed the world where every 15-year-old with a phone aspires to be an influencer. She's the face that launched the 1,000 Little Shits. Paris led directly to the Kardashians and then to housewives and teen moms and Heidis and Snookies and a generation of young girls who look up to the role models who managed to turn an unenthusiastic blowjob into an empire.
You guys on Instagram, feel free to come over to YouTube if you want to chat with everyone else. We got someone in chat. Jim Flawless says, "This is just for you. We must secure our elections. At least number of the ballots with a SAG number." Sorry, bro. Come over to YouTube, man.
Who think my talent is being me. And you wanting to live my life. Kylie Jenner is a billionaire based on her ability to sit near a pool. For the generations who are always on and on about this is my voice and I have something to say, an awful lot of that something is about lip gloss.
All right, guys. So that was, if you just joined it, this is about equality of outcome, and we're diving in. We got some videos we're looking at, and we already got chat we got chat going off. We got random saying something is laggy. Are you guys all feeling the same thing, or is it just his? Let me know. But I'm going to keep going. And we'll go from there. Equality of outcome. All right, let's check this out.
We should talk a little bit about equality too, because there's two important modes of equality that have to be segregated and discussed separately. Because people tend to confuse equality of opportunity with equality of outcome.
Right.
And I think that it's perfectly reasonable to be a free market champion, let's say, or at least an appreciator of the utility of free markets, and to be strongly in favor of equality of opportunity, which means that you try to remove from the market system any impediments to people manifesting those talents that would make them effective and competent players in the productive market itself. Mostly on the basis of the fact that that's counterproductive for everyone, the individuals, but also for everyone who could be benefiting from their talent.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think that's inherent in the idea of markets. It's why when people use terms like crony capitalism, I always think there's no such thing. There's corporatism, which is a better description of it. Crony capitalism is a self-refuting proposition. Capitalism and free markets are based on exactly what you're talking about, because again, the fundamental principle is I own my own labor, which means that if you impede my ability to alienate that labor, you are now interfering with my labor. So free markets are predicated on an idea of equality in rights and the idea of every human being made, and this is why I say there's a Judeo-Christian heritage to free markets, every human being made in the image of God, which I think is the single most important sentence written in the history of humanity.
Right.
And when you abandon the...
Okay, this may not be the best one. So we're just going through, we're going to check these out. So let's see what this is.
What is equality of outcome and equality of opportunity? Let's take a quick look at equality versus equity. You've probably seen this image before. 3 people of different heights. Each gets given one box, which does nothing to change the outcome. First, people getting boxes they need so that they can all see over the fence equally. Equality is giving everyone the same thing. Equity is giving people what they need to achieve an equal outcome. There's a third scenario where people are given nothing. That's the status quo. Let's look at where these things can be applied and what happens. Healthcare. Healthy people everywhere is a good, equal outcome to achieve. A person's health depends on many factors.
Why do they have to put dumb ass music in the background? Nobody needs lame music. It doesn't help your YouTube video.
This is called social determinants of health. There are certain things that everyone needs, like clean drinking water. Giving this to everyone is equality. Many communities, however, need different kinds of healthcare. We aim to give people in different circumstances what they need. This is equity. What's equality of opportunity? This usually relates to employment. So let's go back to our baseball game box example. Say this was in fact a job we're looking at, professional sports photojournalists. Their company gives their shorter employees crates. For an employer to abide by equal opportunity, they must hire a person of each height. So even if they have 3 tall people, they'll have to do something to eventually attain the result of having a workforce with diverse heights working for them. Even if they go broke purchasing crates to accommodate this, while their competition just hires tall people, or people that bring their own crates. Let's break down equality of opportunity a little further and see where it leads to as an outcome. You may have heard of career fields such as STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine. Consider 2 occupations in medicine, for example, nurses and surgeons. Nursing is more people-orientated, while surgery is more things-orientated. Applicants with higher estrogen levels, mostly women, tend to be interested in people career fields, such as nursing, while those with higher testosterone levels, mainly men, are interested in things-related fields, like surgery. Say a hospital wants to hire 20 nurses and 20 surgeons. The nursing positions attracts a pool of 100 women and 10 male applicants. The surgeon's position attracts a pool of 10 women and 100 male applicants. Relevant intelligence, skill, and experience for the job is the same and averaged out randomly among applicants on a scale of 1 to 100%. 100% being the perfect person for the job, and at 50%, you're at the threshold of being competent. Under an egalitarian...
Yeah, Linda, we just talked about this yesterday, exactly. And it's just, I'm diving in more, and since I'm reading the book now on discrimination and disparities, this is great. Yep.
System of equal employment. Hospital A must take exactly 10 of each gender. For the nurses, they'll pick the 10 most qualified women from the pool and take all of the male applicants. Another name for this is positive discrimination. For the surgeons, they'll pick the 10 most qualified men from the pool and take all of the female applicants. An equality of outcome is achieved when an equally diverse workforce is not dominated by any gender. However, we find that there are people hired that are actually incompetent, not due to their social class, but rather the lack of choice the employer had. Let's look at the same conditions where an egalitarian rule is lifted. Hospital B is free to hire the best person for the job, regardless of gender or ethnic class group. The two fields find themselves with this imbalance of gender, but a 100% competent workforce. Ask yourself which hospital has the best chance of healing you. Equality of opportunity and outcome is a rule being applied across all ethnic and class groups, encouraging people to do things they are just not interested in. Choose your passion, be the best you can be, work hard, and collaborate with the best hard-working others whom are interested in your field and can do the job, regardless of their gender or ethnic background.
Why do you think it's a bad example, bro? Curious. That was a good video on that.
I have
It'll
felt
help.
strongly for a while that gender equality is important from a moral standpoint. I think that extending equal rights to both men and women while rejecting equality of outcome would lead to a healthy relationship between the sexes. I have felt strongly for a while that gender equality is important from a moral standpoint. I think that extending equal rights to both men and women while rejecting
So random, you said why? You said in the case of nursing, the men often get chosen first because of physical ability. Yeah, but I think there's less men applying, right? But the numbers are the numbers. There's way more female nurses than male nurses.
Rejecting equality of outcome would lead to a healthy relationship between the sexes, including more people having children. Well, look, it's pretty obvious that given the essentially equal distribution of talents in the world between men and women, that society would be better off insofar as we were able to capitalize on the gifts that everybody brings to the table. We know that one of the best predictors of economic development in countries that are moving towards higher standards of living is in fact the rights that they extend to women. The data on that are extraordinarily clear. It might also be a case that extending rights to women isn't much different than welcoming the foreign and the new in a way that's innovative and productive. That might be the same thing symbolically or psychologically.
Random, that's a good point. I haven't thought about that. But you know, that's an interesting thing because women are more likely to prefer those jobs and will like those jobs and maybe stay in those jobs longer. So that's an interesting thing to think about.
The problem is, and you allude to this in your question, the problem is when equality of opportunity is conflated with equality of outcome. And you're never going to get equality of outcome because there are an infinite number of dimensions across which inequality can be computed. You know, short people are less likely to be economically successful than tall people, and attractive people are more likely to be economically successful than unattractive people, and young people are healthier than old people, and et cetera, et cetera. There's as many different shades of inequality as there are variants of individuality. And so the idea that in some manner we can have equal outcomes is absolutely preposterous. You might also point out, and this is worth thinking about, that there's actually no difference between inequality and ownership. And if you own something, that means that thing is unequally distributed, right? Because you have it and no one else does. And that means that you're oppressing and depriving all those who don't partake in your ownership. But the problem is, if no one can own anything, because that produces inequality of outcome, which it does by definition, then, well, what's the state where no one can own anything? And the answer to that is it's a state of absolute abject poverty and privation. And so inequality and ownership they're the same. Now, inequality of ownership can become so exaggerated that it poses a danger to the state. And so one of the conundrums.
Damn, Brandon, that's crazy, bro. Is she gonna be all right? She's probably gonna go out. She's probably gonna have to go to the bathroom real soon.
That is associated with the unequal distribution of talent and resources is the conundrum of how to deal with emergent extreme inequality. But I would also say, and this is a bit of a side comment, that isn't a problem that's unique to capitalism in any manner. Any economic arrangement that's ever been made by human beings produces inequality. It also might be that inequality is the price we pay for wealth. And here's another way of looking at that. When a new product enters the marketplace, it's often hyper expensive, right? And maybe using it is also
What's up, 10th? What's up, Min? What's going on, guys?
associated with a certain degree.
We got 10th. 10th year says, but yes, I am not successful because I'm unattractive.
Risk. And so you need an initial marketplace that's capable of paying the extremely high costs that are associated with the new technological artifact.
So, Min, we're talking about equality of outcome versus equality of opportunity. And I read out of my book that I started reading recently. I'm sure you're following me on Instagram, so you know. Let's see. Min says, I'm in a piss poor mood. I apologize in advance. My comments are short sounding. All good, Min. Good to have you. Min, you didn't show me the journal you got or the paper that you bought, but this is going back to my you can't see it there. Let me zoom out a little bit. So this is the new book that I'm reading, guys. Again, that's my bookmark. But this is Discrimination and Disparities by Thomas Sowell. Okay. And I'm right in here with it. And so I made some notes. And basically my notes here is if there's not equality of outcome among people born, if there's not equality of outcome among people born to the same parents and raised under the same roof, and we go down here because I kind of wrote this out of line. Why should equality of outcome be expected or assumed when conditions aren't nearly so comparable? Meaning, if equality of outcome isn't the same within a household under the same roof, why should we be expecting it to be like that around the whole world? So, there we go. A 50 as a bookmark. I love reading. Yeah, that's my bookmark, the 50. I guess that's my savings. Random says, this effing guy has handwriting like 1792. Yeah, buddy. I volunteer for troll. Mention soul subbed. Just be real. You the man. Love. Thank you. Or woman. Thank you. Miss Medication loves 1792.
So, remember how expensive.
So anyway, that's the whole point here is I'm reading this book. It's Discrimination Disparities by Thomas Sowell. And guys, if two siblings aren't the same, if it's proven and if it's shown in studies that the eldest sibling is always more successful and scores higher than all the other siblings, why should we be expecting the rest of the world to be equal? So that's what we're saying. So here we go. Miss Medication says, I love how random bullies you. Yeah, I know.
Say giant flat screen TVs were, or cell phones earlier than that, or computers, or
you're bullying me, bro. You hurt my feelings.
Wait, can I tell a story?
access to video.
You want to tell us here?
Yeah,
let
where
me
are
do
you?
it here.
Okay, I have to tell you a story. So, okay. So, like, when we first started dating, 4 years ago, he's like, oh, I journal, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, like, I broke up with my ex because she went into his journal to, like, what is it?
She did.
To, like, read what he wrote.
Yeah, to see what I was writing
diary.
about. Yeah. Yeah, she wanted to see what am I writing about? What she wanted to see about herself and stuff.
Yeah, so then he's like, so I'm really like, please don't look at my. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. That's like so weird, right? And then he showed me his handwriting. I'm like, wait, scratch that. Even if I wanted to do that, your writing is so like complex that I don't have the patience. The hus in Farsi we say hus. I have no hus to freaking sit there and figure out what you wrote about me. I'm like, just write everything, the bad, the good. I'm not going to give a fuck.
There you have it.
Story time!
There it is. We got a little story time out of that one there. Miss Medication had to drop it and expose me there. There we are. Holy cow, dude. Oh, man. So, guys, that's what... yeah. So that's what we yeah, she is. She's awesome. Yeah, I sure do, Mark Smith. Thank you, bud. Based women equals beauty. Hell yeah, just be real. Thanks for coming, man. Frank, what's up, buddy? It's not journaling. You have a diary, bro. Well, it depends. I have a 2-piece journal, so I'm gonna zoom out so you can see what I'm talking about. I have a 2-piece journal. Basically, I have 2 books in one. So if you look there, there's multiple books in here. They're divided up. This second side on the right here, this one on the right is my more personal stuff. This one on the left is my other stuff. And that's where I'm doing, kind of this book, the notes from my books here. I just started this book, so you can see like where I'm taking notes on my pages. This was on page 3. And, oh, you know what? Let me read this one. Bro, because this is actually pretty solid. Okay, check it out. So it says here, and this is right out of the book. It says, sometimes what is missing may be simply someone to point an individual with great potential in the right direction. Sometimes what is missing may be simply someone to point an individual with great potential in the right direction. And guys, mind you, my handwriting is better typically when I take my time. This is like I'm rushing to write these notes because I want to keep reading. This is like my fastest handwriting. But anyway, besides that, that's what I think is a huge thing because, everyone cries about, give these people special benefits because they were once slaves 400 years ago, and give these people this thing because they were from this type of a part of the region of the world. Give them this type of a... And a lot of times, they just have... we need to improve how they're being raised. You know what I'm saying? You give too much welfare, man, and people get raised with parents that don't value working. Or if they do work, they're not going after it as hard as they could or should because they know they can fall back on welfare money. And so then you have parents raising kids that don't know the value of getting a job, keeping the job, doing what you got to do to move up in the job. You have people that go and yell at their managers, get fired, or they rage quit themselves. They just quit. So it's, Min says, you should listen to Mozart, study music while taking notes, and see if it makes your handwriting neater. It does mine. If I slow down, my handwriting is a lot neater. It's pretty nice. Tammy Wickstrom says, Soul is an American treasure. I agree, and I have his books, and I got this one next, although it's a fatty, but I got this one next, and I have literally 4 more Thomas Sowell books that are Amazon is going to be delivering today, tomorrow, and next week. So there you have it, guys. We're looking at equality of outcome. We're looking at equality of opportunity, and we're diving in. I'm looking at the chat now. Slim Fat Boy says, African Americans go to Africa to see the castles where they were brought from, but do not visit the tribes in Africa that sold them. I like that. Candy says, damn, you write better than I do. My writing is like doctors sometimes. I can't even read. Oh, man. Thank you guys for 10 says, my mom was a nurse who wrote shorthand. Grocery shopping was a nightmare. Right on, guys. Appreciate you guys. Linda says, it's sad that so many younger people depend on the government to take care of them. I sent every day. It bothers me that my tax money is going to someone a lot younger than me. Just don't work. It just bothers me that it goes towards some. They think they're helping these other people when in fact they're driving them into the ground, and they're driving their children and their future generations into the ground. That's what bothers me. Is they think they're helping and they're acting like they're virtuous, but they're destroying people. Slim Fat Boy says, Soul talks about that. I've seen it. Frank says, this taught trauma that they somehow experienced from something they never were a part of is ridiculous. Yeah. This taught trauma. Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Yeah. True is teaching them from how to live off the government. Exactly. Thomas Sowell, or I can't remember who it is, but someone said they end up marrying the government instead of their husbands or the father of their children. And they're quickly willing to get rid of the father of their children, kick him out of the house because they know they got welfare coming. And so then they marry the government. Generational welfare. Exactly, Random. Exactly. Now, I have a couple videos lined up. I'm not sure if this video is going to be the best. I'm just going through them. I'm watching these with you guys for the first time. Okay? So, and I do that on purpose. I like watching them with you guys for the first time.
Of course, that was only used to be something that extremely deep-pocketed networks could afford. So when some new product enters the market, you need the hyper-wealthy around to establish the...
Min says the EBT videos have been crazy on IG lately. I have someone that is wanting me to collab on their reel. You know, it helps people get more views when they add me to it. So I haven't approved it. You guys want to look at that and do what we've done before, where you tell me if I approve a collab. You guys want to do that? Let's see. You guys want to do that? You guys want to see the... Oh, my thing is flipped again. Hold on. Yeah, the vetting process. You guys want to do that? I'm down. Yeah, let's try it. All right, cool. Here is my phone. Let me go to my phone, guys. Let's pull that up. Here's my actual phone. So you guys can do it with me. Here's my actual phone. It's not on Wi-Fi on purpose. Here we go. So here we go, guys. Here's my actual phone. Connect. Asking me for a code. Come on now. Let's go. So here's my Instagram. And if you look, this guy here, Jeremy Harrell.
Everybody going around saying that motherfuckers can't basketball.
This actual...
With the parts.
It's funny. This is the actual post that he wants me to collaborate.
Green.
So this is his Instagram. So this is his Instagram, guys. Okay. And this is the reel he wants me to collab with him on. You guys tell me if I should. It's about what Min just mentioned. And I'll go to where you could see it on my thing here. So you go here, and you go to Jeremy Harrell. Where is Jeremy Harrell, bro? Where are you at? Right here. So you can see how it looks when you see how it says it he invited you to collab on their reel. Okay, so you go to this reel right here. It says accept, or you can say view request. So let's view it first. So here is
With the heart. Turkey on my plate. Ham, mashed potatoes, greens, dressing. It's for all people.
Oh, you guys are talking about Sanaz? That's Miss Medication. Random. Random, that's Miss Medication, bro. Sanaz right here, you guys are talking about. Oh, where did she go? Where did she go? Where did she go? Where did you come from? Let's see. Does this work if I go like this? Where's my other one? Oh, man. I think it'll work if I go like this.
I'm only a looker sometimes.
She says she's only a looker sometimes. This
like
right here.
Now I'm more normal.
This is Sanaz, bro. That's Miss Medication.
That picture is like when I was in my 20s in Mykonos.
Yeah, Miss Sanaz. This is Sanaz right here, bro. This is.
Well, you don't need to show my. Well, I mean, you should.
This is me reading at the gym.
Being a dork.
Yeah. But anyway, that's Miss Medication. Yep. That's her at the gym. Boom. And that's me at the gym reading between sets. That was a good picture. I like this. This is actually kind of photo, like, I like the symmetry in it. Anyway, so this is my thing. Do you guys think I should collab on that reel? What do you guys think? Random says, Medi, I could see your nipples through that shirt. Oh, man. What do you guys think? Should I collab on it? I didn't collab on it right away because it was hard to hear what these people are saying. You know what I mean? It's just hard to hear it.
Turkey on my plate. Ham, mashed potatoes, greens, dressing. It's for all people.
What do you guys think? Collab or no? You guys can call it. You guys say yes, I'll do it. And it'll be on my thing. You guys, let's see. No? You guys are saying no. You want me to play another video from him? This is his profile. And these are his. Here, let's go here. Oh. Come on, move. How come it doesn't move with my mouse? So these are his other videos. Frank says no. Cozy says no. I'm too reserved to care about collabs. What's up, Hans? Good to have you, buddy. I got to use my other one here. Just pick any random video like this one. Where's the sound?
That the Portland police are working to aid and abet Antifa. Now, we knew this was the case, but Nick Sorter's got some proof here. He's got a video of them on their phone. He says, exclusive, Portland police aren't just shielding Antifa, they're working actively against Department of Homeland Security agents. He said, I caught them multiple times taking videos from leftist protesters to launch investigations into DHS agents who use pepper spray on rioters. He said, pull federal funds from Portland immediately. While Portland police allow Antifa terrorists who attempt to blind DHS agents to hide behind them, they're also trying to undermine DHS ability to defend themselves. He says, I'm not sure if the police department is even salvageable at the...
There's one video.
I see Belichick. He's the head coach of the, is it the University of North Carolina?
UNC Tar Heels, and they are having a disaster of a season.
You know, sometimes it doesn't translate. You know what I mean?
So here's the video that he wants me to collab on. It's got 8,000 views. It's not a hitter. It's being collab with 2 other people already. Look, with Sean Farash, which was the guy that was just talking, and then that Kevin Smith. This is Sean Farash. And this is that Kevin Smith. Random says I wouldn't collab. Yeah, that's why I didn't do it, man. I was kind of like hesitant on it. Cozy says, yeah, no thanks. It's too jumbled. It doesn't give a clear message. You know what I mean? It's not solid. You want to see a solid video, I'll show you a solid video. And when I do my videos, I typically don't collab with others. You want to see one of my videos that slaps? These videos slap right here. Look at these. 17 million, 3.4 million, 4.3 million. These are slappers right here. Look at this one. I just posted this 5 days ago, 1.2 million. This is our boy Jesse Lee.
So you're gay?
I'm gay.
I didn't know you were gay.
Yeah, well, I just told you.
How did you become gay?
One doesn't become gay. One is born that way.
And so, have you been with men?
Of course.
Like sexually?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
That's mind-blowing.
This is mind-blowing for you?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because I never expected a priest and a father of Epiphany Church to be gay.
That you
don't
sounds like
look
you're
gay.
coming from the assumption. What's look gay mean?
You know, switchy and soft looking.
Really? That's what you call stereotyping.
Oh, but
that's called. That's like if I were to say to you, "Well, you're black. Where's your fried chicken?"
I was at the house, and I can't wait to get home to eat it.
Really? I love how he says, really? Just random, exactly random like that. Watch. I even saved it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing.
That's mind-blowing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing.
I love it, bro. So good. That's a slapper, bro. That's a good video. So you are gay?
So you are gay? I didn't know you were gay. How did you become gay?
All right. All right. So anyway, so we're not going to collab. We're good. I love Jesse too. Only when people upload complications to YouTube. Oh, okay. All right, cool. That was good, man. We did that, and I'm going to shut down my phone, and then we're going to go back to the program. This video is not slapping for me. Let's go to something else. Let's see if this works. What is this? Jordan B. Peterson, equality of outcome versus opportunity. Let's check this out.
It means that's worse, right? Equity means equity, that's worse, right? Equity means equality of outcome. It means that every single organization has 50% women and 50% men. Doesn't matter whether the men and women differ in their intrinsic preferences, which, by the way, they do. The scientific literature on that is completely clear.
You get what he's saying? When they have intrinsic differences, they have different preferences. I always say this on the show. Why are there no, I mean, there are some. Why, I'm just going to exaggerate. Why are there no women plumbers? Not because men are holding them back and saying, no, you can't be a plumber because you're a woman. No, it's because of preference. And that preference extends to every other field in the world. There's preference. Some prefer this, some prefer that.
It was established by the early 90s. It was established in the Scandinavian countries where they've done most to flatten out the socioeconomic differential, say, between men and women. Didn't get rid of the differences between men and women. In fact, they became exaggerated. The biggest personality differences in the world between men and women are in Scandinavia, just as the biggest differences in interest between men and women are in Scandinavia. Because when you get rid of the sociocultural differences between men and women, the biological differences don't disappear, they maximize. How else could it be? And as I said, the literature on that is clear, and the way that the postmodernist radicals react to that is by criticizing the scientific method itself. On their computers, which only work, of course, because the scientific method actually works.
I love it when Jordan Peterson gets into it, dude. He's so good.
So you hear the egalitarian clarion call everywhere. Everything should be equal. Everything should be equally distributed. We should strive for equity. It's like, wrong. Especially if you're a conservative. Wrong. What we want are just hierarchies of competence. Not everyone's a neurosurgeon.
Yep, exactly. Yes, we did, Linda. Exactly.
You know, if your father has a brain tumor, you probably want a hierarchy of competence for neurosurgeons, so you can pick the one that's the best, so that he might not die. That's what a hierarchy of competence is for. For the postmodernists, there's no hierarchy that isn't based on power. Well, because they think the world runs on power. And that's why they're willing to use power to get what they want, because it's the only thing they believe in. But a valid hierarchy of competence, it's, God, we need those.
What's up, Pro Russia? Random says only on the treadmill or bike because you don't need to focus. Oh, yeah, and someone's told me not to read. Tiger Stripe Eyes says there's a time and place for everything. When a normal person thinks of the gym, they think of exercise, not reading. Your girlfriend, fiance is right. It's nerdy and just inappropriate. He's talking about me reading at the gym. He's also said here, don't read at the gym, bro. Exercise your body at the gym and exercise your mind in the private time at the library or at home. There's nothing worse than walking into the weight room to that. I'll be the judge of that.
Things, man. We need the best plumbers. We need the best contractors. We need the best. We need the best carpenters. We need the best lecturers. There has to be a hierarchy of quality, not only so that we know who the best are and can reward them properly, but so that we can reward them so they keep being the best. It's like, you know, if you have a great educator.
Already triggered. I triggered you, Tiger. Damn, bro. Oh, shoot. What the hell?
On their computer.
Damn, bro. He says, focus on your breathing, your form, how your muscles feel each set. When you're an alpha, bro, you don't have to do that. You just walk in the gym and you hit it hard. And you can do some reading too. And still get the benefits. Bro, I did 30 minutes straight in the sauna and then followed the sauna, 30 minutes in the sauna, by a 31-degree ice bath. It was insane, followed by swimming.
Which only work, of course, because the scientific method actually works. The egalitarian clarion call everywhere. Everything should be equal. Everything should be equally distributed. We should strive for equity. It's like, wrong. Especially if you're a conservative. Wrong. What we want are just.
Random says, take your book in the sauna. Well, guess what I did that day? You're damn right. You're damn right. 30 minutes in the sauna with my book. You want to borrow the book?
Hierarchies of competence. Not everyone's a neurosurgeon. You know, if your father has a brain tumor, you probably want a hierarchy of competence for neurosurgeons, so you can pick the one that's the best, so that he might not die. That's what a hierarchy of competence is for. For the postmodernists, there's no hierarchy that isn't based on power. Well, because they think the world runs on power. And that's why they're willing to use power to get what they want, because it's the only thing they believe in. But a valid hierarchy of competence, it's, God, we need those things, man. We need the best plumbers. We need the best contractors. We need the best, we need the best carpenters. We need the best lecturers. There has to be a hierarchy of quality, not only so that we know who the best are and can reward them properly, but so that we can reward them so they keep being the best. It's like, you know, if you have a great educator, if you have a great leader, if you have a great thinker, you want to reward them so they keep thinking and they keep educating so they can tell you something. It's not a reward for their intrinsic.
There's a way to read in the sauna without getting the book wet and soggy. I have a method. I have things. I've been doing this for a little while. So I have my ways. Where there's a will, there's a way, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a calculated move on your part to suck everything out of them that's valuable as fast as you can. That's what a hierarchy of competence is for. And the idea that hierarchies of competence don't exist it's so cynical. It's such a pathologically cynical idea. And it's actually quite patently untrue, because here's an interesting tidbit from the psychological literature. Let's say you want to determine what the best predictors are for lifetime success in a Western society. Well, what would you hope for? How about intelligence? There would be a good one. Let's hope the smart people occupy more positions of complexity, right? Because they're smarter. Would you want it any other way? Okay, and that's great. The number one predictor of accomplishment in Western societies is intelligence. So that means the system works. What's the number two predictor? Conscientiousness. Well, what's that? It's a trait marker for hard work. So who gets ahead? Smart people who work hard. Now, that doesn't account for every bit of the difference between people in terms of their hierarchical structure, because hierarchies aren't perfect. They're corrupt. People get to the top sometimes because they're psychopathic, although, believe me, a hell of a lot less than you think. Because a psychopath has to keep moving from place to place, because once he reveals himself as deceitful and untrustworthy, he has to go find new suckers to fleece. So the idea that, there's no distinction between a CEO and a psychopath, it's like, that's only made by someone who A, knows nothing about psychopaths, B, knows nothing about CEOs, and C, has something fundamental against the entire capitalist structure, because it's simply not true. Corrupt, sometimes, greedy, sometimes, short-sighted, sometimes running companies that are doing their best to auger themselves into the ground, and so, it's bad people running a dying organization. But generally speaking, it's not the case. Our hierarchies of competence are reasonably functional.
Imposter syndrome is a thing, man, and imposter syndrome is something I get sometimes too. Even though a lot of people that are successful, or a lot of people that get good at something, they get imposter syndrome, and it comes when you get so good at something that thing is easy for you to do, and when you're doing that thing in a place where everyone's trying hard to do that but they can't, but to you it's easy, you're like, it's, like, am I really? It's weird. It's a weird feeling. That imposter syndrome is a real thing.
And not
especially among highly skilled and highly, I think, successful people.
Not only are they functional, they're valuable. We need to know who the competent people are, and we need to reward them. And even more importantly, we need to tell young people,
especially when you're a fast learner. When you learn really quickly and you pick up on things really quick, you get that imposter syndrome.
Hey, there's some hierarchies of competence out there. Like 1,000 of them. Go be a plumber, man. But be a good one, Be an honest one. I had a plumber once, It was the night before we were putting drywall in our house. We were redoing a house, and he had put in all the plastic piping, and I was going to test.
Tiger, you're still asking about reading while I'm working out. Well, the truth is, when I read between sets, I actually read like a full page between a set, and then while I'm doing the set and directly after, I'm thinking about that page I read. Yeah.
The joints, they're supposed to be glued together with this pipe glue, right? And I told him I had to test the joints, and he said, well, you don't have to test my joints, they never leak. And I thought, yeah, that's okay. How about if I test them? So I went up on the 3rd floor and filled the pipes with water, capping them in the basement like you're supposed to. And like half an hour later, I had 2 inches of water in the basement. There were 30 leaking joints. And that was the night before the drywallers were supposed to show up. So he wasn't particularly competent. That's the point of that story. But even more so, he had put a bunch of the plastic pipe outside where the drywall would be, so it would have been sticking through the wall. So I spent a frenetic night, sawing through plastic pipe and re-gluing joints so that the drywallers could come in. What's the point? If you're going to be a plumber, man, be a good plumber, because otherwise all you do is go out there and cause trouble. We don't need people to cause more trouble. We need people to solve problems. And so you can be a tradesman, and you can make a lot of money as a tradesperson. It's a bloody, reliable, honorable, forthright, productive way of making a living. And there is a hell of a lot of difference between a working man who knows what he's doing and one who doesn't, both in terms of skill and ethics, right? And you work with someone who knows what they're doing, it's a bloody pleasure. They tell you what they're going to do. They tell you how much it will cost. They go and do it. It works, and you pay them. Perfect. Everyone's happy. And that's what happens when you have genuine hierarchies of competence. And so you listen to these panderers of egalitarianism and equity, and they fail to recognize completely that there are differences in rank between people. It's not such a terrible thing, man. Maybe you wouldn't be a great lawyer. Like, it's certainly possible. Most people aren't. But that doesn't mean there isn't something you could be great at. There's lots of hierarchies to attempt to climb, and if you fail in one, go try in another. But the point is, you're still trying to aim for the top, and what the hell are you going to do if you don't try to aim for the top? You know, flap about uselessly and whine about your life? It's not helpful. It'll just make you miserable. You're not reliable to anyone. You can't help out in a crisis. It's like, so you tell young people, and this is another message for conservatives, like, I don't care what you're going to do, but go out there and make something of yourself for God's sake. Be an honest person and work and get to the top of whatever it is that you want to get to the top of. You know, and stand up for yourself like a respectable human being and be a bit of a light on the world instead of a blight. You know? And you can tell young people that, and they haven't been told that by anyone now. And so the young men are so hungry for that it's painful to watch. They're so relieved when someone finally comes up and says, hey, you know, you get your act together a bit, discipline yourself, see if you can learn to tell the truth, concentrate on something for a year or two, you could be a bloody world beater. They think, really? That's possible? Wow, that would be interesting. That might make life worth living. It's like, yeah, it might. So why don't you go do it? That's what the damn universities were supposed to be teaching people, and they've forgotten that. I went to Harvard a month and a half. I used to teach there, and I talked to a bunch of students, you know, and I told them, it's not easy to get into Harvard, you know. Like, you're a valedictorian if you're at Harvard. And not only are you a valedictorian, you're way better than most people at least 2 other things, or you don't get in. And so, like, I don't know what the acceptance rate is, like 5%, and believe me, not everybody applies, so it's a very selective school. And so why am I saying that? It's like, these are high-quality kids. So I told them what I just told you. It's like, here you are at Harvard. It's like, get yourself educated, man. Read some books, learn to talk, learn to think. Make yourself into something. Get the hell out there and make the world that put you here happy that you were put there in that great institution. You know, and they came up to me afterwards and said, God, I wish someone would have told us that when we were in our first year. It's like, Jesus, why didn't someone tell them that? For God's sake, it's supposed to be the greatest university in the world. Is it so difficult to figure that out? Well, it is if that.
It's funny, that goes right back to what I was saying earlier, and it goes back to this, that the first note that I took from this book, and if you guys are just tuning in, you may not have seen it, but this is, let me just go like this. All right, and we'll go like this. Go like this. Whoa. There we go. So this is the first thing that I wrote in the book, about the book, is this piece right here. It's what he's talking about right now. Sometimes what is missing may be simply someone to point an individual with great potential in the right direction. Sometimes that's all it is. I could have used that a few times in my life. It would have gotten me further faster. But I went the slower route. It's all good. I got to where I wanted to go, and I'm still on my way there too. But that's what he's saying right now. That's what they should have been teaching, and that's what they should have taught earlier to them.
It's supposed to be the greatest, Jesus afterwards and said, God, I wish someone would have told us that when we were in our first year. It's like, Jesus, why didn't someone tell them that? For God's sake, it's supposed to be the greatest university in the world. Is it so difficult to figure that out? Well, it is if that isn't what you want to have happen in the university. You want to make cringing milksops who whine about being victims while they're going to Ivy League institutions. Jesus.
Damn, bro. I think I need that's a new reel, a new clip I gotta make, bro. Holy cow.
In the university, you want to make cringing milksops who whine about being victims while they're going to Ivy League institutions. Jesus. It's pathetic.
Wow.
There's an old idea from
Same here, Hans. Same here, bro.
Carl Jung. I really like this idea. It's a rough one, man. It's like a psychotherapeutic scalpel. Let's say someone's doing something to you you don't understand. It's producing nothing but misery as an outcome. You think, what the hell is your motivation? They won't tell you. Maybe they don't know. So Carl Jung's advice was, look at the outcome and infer the motivation. Okay, so you produce a generation of students privileged beyond belief in comparison to the rest of like struggling humanity in all of history. You put them in Ivy League schools and they come out thinking that they're members of an oppressed group and victims. It's like, well, why would that happen? And the answer is, well, that's what the people who taught them wanted to turn them into. And then you might think, well, did they do that because they cared for them? It seems bloody unlikely to me. You take this great raw material, right? I mean, it's taken a lot of work to make an institution like the University of Toronto or like Harvard. We've been working on that for thousands of years. And you invite people in, you think, God, we selected you so carefully because we think you could be a world beater. And then what we do is, we don't teach you how to think, we don't teach you how to speak, we don't get you to read great books, and we convince you that you're a victim and that your culture is corrupt. It's like, great. Well, those people are no friends of those institutions, I can tell you that, and they're even less friends of those students. So hierarchies of competence are desirable, and they should be promoted. So none of this idiot egalitarian equity. It's not good for anyone. First of all, it's impossible. Second, it would be murderous to impose. But third, even if it succeeded, it would fail. As fast as it succeeded, that would be how fast it would fail. Why would you strive for anything if there was no up to strive for? If everything's flat and equal, well, when you're starving or dying, then everyone's equal. And believe me, the egalitarian totalitarians who dominated the 20th century knew perfectly well how to make people equal. And they made them equal in gulag work camps and in starvation. And I'm sure we could attain that if we wanted to. So,
wow. I just bookmarked that and saved that spot. I'm going to make a reel out of that. You guys will see a reel on Instagram and YouTube. You'll see a short pretty soon. Damn, bro. That's what I'm talking about. Holy cow. Dude, that was a good one. That was a good one. Here we go.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
So actually, there's a set of books that lay this out perfectly. You read Dostoevsky wrote a book called The Possessed, or The Devils. And it's a description of the initial
Dostoevsky, The Possessed, or The Devils.
Breakdown of Orthodox Christian society in Russia in the late 1800s and the rise of radical socialist ideas. So it's sort of like the prodroma to the Russian Revolution. It's a brilliant book. And it concentrates on the personalities that are involved. And then if you read after that, Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago, where he details what he does in that book is quite remarkable. So he says, look, there were tens of millions of people killed from 1919 to 1959 in the Soviet Union, and as a consequence of internal repression. And it's so dreadful that words can't do it justice. I mean, it's absolutely dreadful what happened in the Soviet Union. I mean, just for starters, 6 million Ukrainians died in the 1930s because of enforced starvation. In fact, in the 1930s, here's how terrible it was. So all the food that the collective farmers, newly collectivized farmers, had produced, which wasn't very much, by the way, was taken from them and brought to the cities. So all the farmers starved to death. Now here's how draconian it got. So let's say you were the mother of some children, and all your grain had been shipped off to the cities, and you thought, well, I'm not going to have my children starve to death. I'm going to go out in the field, and I'm going to, on my hands and knees, and I'm going to pick up the grains that are left over that the harvesters didn't get, and I'm going to feed those to my kids. That was punishable by death. You were supposed to hand in those extra bits of grain so that they could be shipped to the city as well. So that was just the beginning of the fun in the Soviet Union. And what Solzhenitsyn did was say, look, this wasn't a consequence of the Marxist system gone wrong. This was a consequence of the Marxist system. It was an inevitable consequence of the axioms of the Marxist system. And then he lays that out. And it's, well, I think he got it right.
And what is that connection?
Why he won the Nobel Prize.
But what is the connection?
How much tyranny you have to impose in order to produce something like equality of outcome. And Thomas Sowell's talked about this a little bit too. He said, what the people who are agitating for equality of outcome don't understand is that you have to cede so much power to the authorities, to the government, in order to ensure equality of outcome that a tyranny is inevitable. And
damn, he's talking about Thomas Sowell, which is probably the book I'm reading right now. And what he just said was huge. Hold on.
Equality of outcome.
How much tyranny?
How much tyranny you have to impose in order to produce something like equality of outcome.
Wow.
And Thomas Sowell's talked about this a little bit too. He said, what the people who are agitating for equality of outcome don't understand is that you have to cede so much power to the authorities, to the government, in order to ensure equality of outcome that a tyranny is inevitable. And that's right. And the other another problem with equality of outcome.
So you have to give so much power to the government to get that equality of outcome, to force it. Random said it only works by force. You have to force it, because it goes back to what we said earlier, is if people have preference, they won't go and do equally the same careers.
This is also a big technical problem, is again, so if you want equality of outcome and you want to force, let's go back to my classic example, plumbing, then you're going to force women to become plumbers. You're going to force them. And how are you going to do that? You're going to have to use the government to give power to the government to force women to become plumbers. What measure of outcome? There's lots of outcomes, like how happy are you? How much pain are you in? How healthy are you? How much money do you have? How much opportunity for movement forward do you have? What's the width of your social connections? What's the quality of your friendships? Do you have exposure to art and literature? You can multiply the number of dimensions of evaluation between people innumerably, right? Because there's all sorts of ways to classify people. You're going to get equality of outcome on every one of those measures?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Is everyone going to have to be equally happy in their relationship? And if not, why not? Why stop with why stop with pay? There's no place to stop.
There's
a huge technical problem, because
there's no stopping. There's no end to it.
There is no place to stop. There will be no stopping. It's like nobody can have anything else. Nobody can have anything that everyone else doesn't have at the same time. That's the ultimate outcome of equality of outcome. Well, you think about what that would mean.
What did he say?
That's the ultimate outcome. Everyone else doesn't have anything that everyone, nobody can have anything else. Nobody can have anything that everyone else doesn't have at the same time. That's the ultimate outcome of equality.
Nobody can have what anybody else doesn't have or has or doesn't have.
Of outcome.
I got what he
you
said.
Think about what that would mean. It's terrible. Well, instantly you think, there's nothing but a tyrannical system could impose that.
Have you ever debated a Marxist supporter? Have you ever debated someone who is pro-equality of outcome?
No, they don't debate me. Well, the closest thing I think was the debate I did at the University of Toronto about the Bill C-16 issues. But they didn't actually have a debate. They had a forum, which is the postmodern equivalent of a debate. It's supposed to be friendlier, I suppose. But no, I haven't, because people don't do it. They don't ask me to do it.
But what is it about that idea or that ideology about Marxism that's so attractive to young students and to...
I can't wait to hear this, because I just literally, one of my Thomas Sowell books that's on its way here is called Marxism. I want to learn about Marxism from Thomas Sowell.
University professors.
Oh, well, that's a good question. I think it goes back to the issue of inequality. And this is something that has to be dead seriously addressed. It's like, you might say, well, why is the left wing necessary? Let's put it that way. And then a subset of that would be, well, why is the left wing attractive? Well, the left wing is necessary because inequality does spiral out of control. And so there has to be a political voice for the dispossessed. And you don't want people to stack up at zero, where they can't play the game at all. It's a bad idea. Not only do you not, if people stack up at zero, they're too poor to get ahead at all, let's say. They're too poor to open a bank account. They're too poor to buy enough food. They're stuck at zero and they can't get out of it. It's a really bad scene because, first of all, that's a lot of suffering. And that's not so good. Second of all, well, at least in principle, a lot of those people might be, might have something to offer the world.
or their children might. And you want to open up avenues of opportunity to them so that they can succeed, but so that everyone else can benefit from their success. So, and then the next thing is, well, if the inequality gets out of hand too much, then the whole society starts to destabilize, because if you get enough people stacked up at zero, especially young men, you get enough young men stacked up at zero, they think, oh, to hell with it, we'll just flip the whole board over and it'll settle in a new configuration, and maybe we won't be stuck at zero in the new configuration. So it foments revolutionary thinking. So there's lots of reasons to be concerned about inequality. And so
Random brings up some points, and I'm assuming because have you read Gulag Archipelago? What's up, Ruby?
you need a voice on the left to say, look, we got to parameterize the tendency towards inequality so that it doesn't destabilize the entire society, so that everybody has an opportunity to advance. Like, yes, right, you need that. Okay, so that's the technical reason for the necessity of the left. And then I think it's attractive because young people can be resentful, partly because they're at the bottom of the heap, so to speak. They're not, because they're young. Like, look, you want to be poor in 18, you want to be rich in 80. Which are you going to choose?
Most people's going to take poor at 18.
Well, yeah.
Especially if you've been rich at 80 and you understand you can get back there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that most of the people who have $1 million or more in the United States are old. Well, why is that? Well, really, do we need an explanation for that?
W. Mike, I agree. Jordan Peterson was influential and was paramount to me switching from the left to the right.
Like, you've had a lot more time to make money. How would that be? That's the explanation. So that's one of the big drivers of inequality. It's just simply age. But it's not obvious that the old rich people have an advantage over the young starting out people. So anyways, but anyhow.
Solid, Random. I love that, bro. That's awesome.
Maybe you're resentful and irritated because you're young and you're still at the bottom of the heap, and you've got other problems too. It's more difficult for people of your race or ethnicity or gender, or at least you think it is. And so you say, well, I want to make things fair. And then that's also driven by some real compassion, because nobody really likes the consequences of radical inequality.
Wow, Random. That's super rare. That's very rare. I don't have nearly that memory, bro. That's incredible.
Like, nobody likes the fact that homeless people exist and have to go to the emergency ward, to get treated, and they don't have medical coverage and they have to live in tents on the street. And so if you have some compassion, then you think, well, we got to do more for the poor and dispossessed. It's like, okay, that's an understandable sentiment. But the problem is that it's that desire to help is contaminated by resentment and ideological certainty, and then also by something that George Orwell pointed out so nicely in his book Road to Wigan Pier. It's like the typical middle-class socialist, this was his diagnosis, and he was a socialist, by the way. His diagnosis was the typical middle-class intellectual socialist doesn't like the poor. In fact, they don't want to have anything to do with the poor. They're contemptuous of the poor, but they hate the rich. And I think it's even more devious than that, because I think who they hate are the successful. Some of the successful are rich, but really who they hate is the successful. It's like Cain and Abel. It's the retelling of Cain and Abel. And so there's some positive motivations for being engaged on the left, and there's a lot of negative motivations as well. And the people who are really driven by the radical left ideology, the real radicals, they're almost all driven by resentment and hatred, as far as I'm concerned. Now, let's look at both extremes. So back to the idea of the ideological and verbal territory. I said with Bill C-16 that I wouldn't speak the language of the radical leftists, because I don't think that language should define the game.
He has been very sick. I'm curious if there's any updates.
But let's say it does. So here's the game. The world is a battleground of groups, and they're battling for power. That's it. That's the game. And some of them win, and they oppress those who don't win. So that's how we're going to view the world. Okay, now the leftists say, okay, well, here's the oppressed people. The oppressors, the patriarchal types, they should be ashamed of themselves and give up some power. And the right-wingers, the radical right-wingers look at that and they say, oh, I see, so the game is ethnic identity, is it? It's identity politics. Okay, we're white males. We're not going to lose. That's the right-wing version of identity politics. It's like, screw you. if we're going to divide into groups, if we're going to divide into tribes, and I'm in my tribe, I'm not going to get all guilty and lose. I'm going to get all cruel and win. And that's like, then you think, well, there's people in the middle. They're kind of looking back and forth. Which side of the identity politics spectrum am I going to fall in? Do I want to go with, do I want to be driven primarily by compassion, and am I going to accept guilt for my historical privilege? So that's one possibility. And then I'm the oppressor. I'm the member of the oppressor group. Or am I going to say, oh, no, to hell with that. I'm just going to play to win. Well, then I'm going to go to the right. It's like, well, my sense is, how about we don't play either of those games? And the reason we shouldn't play them is, well, the Soviets played the left-wing game and like killed who knows how many tens of millions of people. You can't even count it accurately. The estimates range from 20 to 100 million. Those are pretty big error bars. And the Maoists, maybe 100 million, certainly 60 million. So, okay, that didn't work out so well. And then there's the Nazis, like they played ethnic identity politics and racial superiority. It's like, what do we want to play that game? See, what I've been trying to do, really, what I've been trying to do for the last 30 years is say, look, there's heavy temptations to play those sorts of games. But that's not the only game in town. It's a much better game to play individual. It's like, get your act together. Stand up in the world. Make something of yourself. Stay away from the ideological oversimplifications. Set your house in order. That's rule 6 in this book. So I have a book rule in there that says, set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. And it's a very dark chapter about the motivations of the Columbine high school killers and this other guy named Carl Panzram, who was a serial rapist and arsonist and murderer. And he wrote an autobiography, and the Columbine kids also wrote about why they did what they did. They're resentful to the core, bitter, resentful, terrible. And, well, I'm suggesting that people stay away from that resentfulness and bitterness, even though life is hard.
I just pulled up Jordan Peterson's book, because since you guys are talking about books and different things, there was this, and then there was also his list on Goodreads. And 1984, I don't know why it may be at the top of his list, maybe because he put it there. I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's because of the score of the book. Yeah, I think it is based by score of the book. But this, I'm gonna start, working through this list and reading some of his books that he's read and recommends. But this one back here is his these are the books he recommends. This is Jordan Peterson's website, and these are the books he recommends. And some of the books that I have I took straight from this. Like this book right here is the one that I'm reading at the gym. This book right here, Notes from Underground from Dostoevsky, is the book that you saw me reading at the gym on my Instagram. So this is pretty interesting. If you guys want to know his books, he has it listed, his recommended books, and he has it broken down by the type of book that they are. So like, for example, here he put literature, philosophy. Down here is clinical psychology and psychiatry, neuroscience, religion and religious history, state of the world, down here. So anyway, if you guys are curious about what books, then 1984, I just ordered the hardcover. It's on its way.
And there's malevolence in the world. It's like, yeah, you can tell a story where everyone's a victim, because we all die, we all get sick, and things happen to us that are bitter and terrible, betrayal, deceit, lies, like people hurt us on purpose, so it's not just the tragedy of life.
Random, you live in a good time now, bro. Almost every book is audio, and in a lot of cases, you have the actual authors themselves reading the book to you, which is fucking sick.
It's malevolence as well. Everyone's a victim. You can tell that story. The problem is, if you tell that story and you start to act it out, you make all of that worse. That's the problem. And this is why partly I got attracted to Christian imagery, at least in part. Because there's an idea in Christianity that you should pick up your goddamn cross and like walk up the hill. And that's dramatically, that's correct. That's the right answer. It's like, you've got a heavy load of suffering to bear, and a fair bit of it's going to be unjust. So what are you going to do about it? Accept it voluntarily and try to transform as a consequence. That's the right answer. It's the right answer. Because the rest of it is tribalism. And try to trust. So what are you going to do about it? Accept it voluntarily. Of suffering to bear. That's the right answer. It's like, you've got a heavy load of suffering to bear, and a fair bit of it's going to be unjust. So what are you going to do about it? Accept it voluntarily. And try to transform as a consequence. That's the right answer. It's the right answer. Because the rest of it is tribalism. And we're too technologically powerful to get all tribal again.
Wow. Wow. I saved that video. That was sick. That was amazing, bro. Wow. Holy cow.
So here we are on this topic of equality in the 21st century. So what does equality mean today? If you start to think about this idea of equality of outcome or the injustice of inequality, at which point does equality of outcome is just, at which point is it unjust? Sort of looking at our world today and looking at inequality. How do we know that some inequality is a sign of injustice and some is the way of life? So what does equality mean when we look at the world today, different from Dr. King's speech of the basic humanity?
I don't think King's speech, I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, requires equality of outcome. He says his children will be judged by the content of their character. That's a conditional statement. That is, the judgment will depend upon the content of their character, not the color of their skin.
Glad to hear that, Higgy, Homestead.
But it does.
More books, baby, more books. Let's go.
Follow from that the outcomes, whatever outcomes we consider, wealth and economic power, position within the society, representation in the various professions, the various measures of social achievement, doesn't follow from judging by the content of character and not color of skin, that when we look at the end of the day at the social outcomes, that they will be equal across the different groups. In fact, I think there's a contradiction in the idea that groups will be equal in all of the various social outcomes, that they will be equally successful in business, that they will be proportionately represented in the various professions, that they will have the same educational achievement, that the occupational profiles will look the same. If they are, in fact, distinct groups with their own cultural traditions and practices, with their own ideals and norms, various immigrant populations, people coming to the United States of America from all corners of the world, the descendants of the African slaves, the Black Americans here today, who are ourselves various with different origins and so on, the different religious practices and commitments that Jewish or Mormon or Christian or whatever, however we parcel up the total population into the various groups, these groups are themselves different from one another. They have different norms within their own cultural practice. How would we expect, if in fact we recognize that the groups are different from one another, that in a world that is fair, they would all come out equally represented in every undertaking? They're not equally represented, and that fact, I'm arguing, is in and of itself insufficient to justify the conclusion that they're not somehow being fairly treated. Fair treatment doesn't imply equal outcomes in a world in which the populations in question are themselves different with respect to their culture, their practices, their norms, their traditions, their beliefs, their ideals, and so on. The fact of those different norms, traditions, beliefs, cultural orientations, and ideals will have consequences in terms of their different social outcomes. So I just think it's a mistake that people are making when they think fairness of treatment implies equality of outcomes. It does not. Is the process by which we're speaking now in the midst of the National Basketball Association's playoffs? I confess to being a Boston Celtics fan. I mean, it's a very good team, and I'm excited about my Celtics. We defeated the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, we defeated Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and company, okay, in a playoff series. Mm-hmm. We whipped them, and we're on our way to, the Eastern Conference Finals, and we're on our way to the NBA Finals. And I'm, if I were a betting man, I'd put down a few bucks that the Boston Celtics, underrated as we are, have a very good chance of winning the NBA Finals. Okay, so that's the NBA. That's the National Basketball Association. I'm a sports fan. I like basketball.
Slightly biased prediction, but yes.
Yeah, it is somewhat biased. All I'm saying is, if you take a look at who the star players are in the National Basketball Association, you're going to find that there's some Eastern Europeans. There's some really good basketball players coming out of Eastern Europe. And more power to them. And there are a lot of African Americans. We're overrepresented. There are not that many Jews, as far as I know. No offense intended there, Lex. But I mean, the NBA is not equally representative of all of the different populations in the United States. Now, we could go into the reasons why, but I'm just saying the process by which you get to be playing in the NBA is fair. If you can play, you can get on the court. All they're looking for is people who can play. I think something like that is true in many different venues. I expect if you're a really good technical engineer, companies are going to employ you. And if you can make money, they're going to advance you, and you will be able to rise to the top of that profession. I expect that the people...
Random, I think you're right. Although I don't know the details, but I think their blackness trumps their Jewishness.
People who are engaged in financial transactions, who are actually making bets on the market, by and large, are the people who are good at that activity. And if you're good at that activity in this world, in this modern world, you're going to rise to the top. I'm not saying that there are no barriers of discrimination. Of course, there are, of many different sorts. But I'm saying that to expect that there would be, okay.
Yeah, in a discussion like this, where people are talking about constantly, they're more worried about their color of people's skin and all this kind of stuff. They're more worried about blackness than they are their Jewness.
I mean, let's look at who's actually writing code. Let's look at who's actually trading bonds. Let's look at who's actually starting businesses, and so on. To say that that in a fair world, I would expect that if blacks are 10% of the population, they'd be 10% of every one of those things, is to ignore the reality that the differences in the culture and practices and norms of the various population groups will lead to differences in their representation amongst people who are outstanding performers in one or another activity.
How do you know if the difference in culture accounts for the difference in outcomes, or it's the existence of barriers, especially barriers early on in life, of discrimination that are racially based? So if you think about affirmative action, in which ways is affirmative action empowering? In which way is it limiting for these early development of the different groups? But let's just speak to African Americans. We should say that you went to some no-name Northwestern University at first, but then you ended up with the great University of MIT. So that's your not early but middle development. So speaking of the development, the opportunities, the equality of opportunity, how do we know we got that equality right?
Yeah, I'm glad you put it like that. We were talking about results. Now we're talking about opportunity. I was taking the position that When King says, I have a dream, and he envisions a world where his children will not be barred from the good things in life because of the color of their skin, we're talking about opportunity, not about results. But opportunity is not just something that depends upon what the law is and what public policies are. Opportunity also depends upon the social conditions in which people are raised, the social and economic conditions. So the child of a poor family that has no resources, it doesn't have the same opportunity as a child of a wealthy family to realize their full human potential. You asked me, how can we tell whether or not a difference in outcomes is a reflection of unequal opportunity, or it's a reflection of differences in culture and interest and practice? And I don't know that there's a single answer to that question, but I think one wants to look at the data. One wants to try to measure, as a social scientist, I would say what you want to do is you want to estimate the significance of various factors for determining the outcome. If the outcome is how much money does a person make when they work in the labor market, so you look at their wages.
I want to. It looks like this guy is live right now. Let me take a look at some.
This is Glenn Loury, host of the Glenn Show.
Oh, he has his own live show. He's live.
I'm going to repeat it because
or he was live.
Director is instructing me to repeat the intro. This is Glenn Loury. You are viewing the Glenn Show, live streaming here on Friday, October 24th, and I'm with Robert Patton Spruill, a contributor to the Glenn, are affiliated with, developing a podcast with a big reach, such as the one that you are. These applicants of Masterpiece. That was an admission, man. And I was.
They're talking about Thomas Sowell, Black MAGA, and Black Fatigue.
It's meant to set the stage for Thomas Sowell, the economist. That's what you just asked me, Mark, in terms of Thomas Sowell, the economist. And I observed that Sowell was educated at the University of Chicago in the spirit and the tradition of price theory, of free market reverent analysis of human behavior in terms of laissez-faire, in terms of quiet confidence in the ability of free associating individuals left to their own devices to work out.
Mike, I agree, and I can't wait to really get into his books. I just started my first Thomas Sowell book, and I'm already writing notes and loving the book.
The problems of social interaction in a beneficial manner. And this is Hayek. We don't need planning. The market will take care of things. This is, people may not know who I'm talking about. These are people who are figures in the University of Chicago Pantheon. Ronald Coase. Coase's idea is that if you have externalities, this is a market failure where people are producing social costs. That is, all the costs are not actually accounted for in the market, pollution being one of them, noise being another of them. My neighbor plays his stereo too loud that I cannot avoid hearing. He doesn't take into account the fact that he's disturbing me when he turns on his stereo. There's no market where the neighbor can buy from me the right to disturb my sleep by turning up his stereo. He just does it. He's going to play his music too loud unless somebody intervenes. And Coase argues that bargaining between me and the neighbor will substitute for often the beneficial consequences if there did exist a market in which my rights could be bought or sold with the neighbor, and the neighbor could be required to acquire my permission through a market transaction, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I go on too long to make the point. They believe that things will work out okay if you just leave people to their own devices. People will find a way around it. Freedom will out. At the end of the day, spontaneous order will emerge. Now, I was trained in a different tradition at MIT, a tradition that thought that you needed regulations sometimes to compensate for the fact that markets are incomplete, that contracts can't be written for everything, that the information that needs to inform efficient allocation of resources is not always available, that there are people who are in positions of market power, so that the implications of the competitive paradigm that freely interacting agents seeking their own interests will, as if led by an invisible hand, in the language of Adam Smith, come to a commodious resolution of the social problems, that can not always be counted upon. And people like Paul Samuelson, who was the founder of the school at MIT that I was trained in, and Robert Solow, who was his close colleague and co-author, and Peter Diamond, who was one of my dissertation.
Awesome, Mike. This guy is solid. I'm gonna look into this guy a little bit more, and I'm gonna go hit the gym and go handle a few things. And I may be back on later tonight if I don't do some kind of a date night with Miss Medication. After all, it's Friday night. Guys, thank you guys for joining. I'm gonna call it quits and for this session. Love you guys. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for joining the show. Tammy says Soul graduated from Harvard before affirmative action. Sometimes Glenn disagrees with Soul. Good to know. I'm going to look into some of this stuff. I'm going to look into Hayek, Frederick Hayek as well. He pops up in some of Soul's stuff and some of these other guys' stuff, so I'm looking forward to it. Take the lady out and spoilers, says Candy. I do that very often. I just did that recently, and I do that often. I don't wait for Fridays to do that, but I don't mind having a nice dinner, nice Friday dinner. Maybe go do some really good, authentic Italian. And then who knows? I think I might just do a live stream at the dinner for fun for like 5-10 minutes while we're out there. So if you do see me pop up on your YouTube, like Medi's live or something, I might be out on dinner or something. We'll see what happens. Slim says, I disagree with Soul sometimes. I have not gotten into Soul that much, so I can't say that I disagree yet. So far with the 9 pages that I've read from Discrimination Disparities, I do agree with him very much. So we'll have to see. Again, thank you guys so much. Love you guys, and I will see you later on.